Taxi! 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 Welcome to Click, I'm Spencer Kelly, and welcome back to Japan, a country where everyone always seems to be in a rush. Well, nearly everyone. Coming up, I'll explain why I was so keen to catch that cab, and I'll take a ride around Tokyo that terminates underground. We'll also have a first look at the Sony PlayStation 4, and if you thought technology was a young person's game, we'll meet the robot-assisted pensioners who say otherwise. All that, plus the latest tech news and top tips for travellers in Webscape. Tokyo, beating heart of Japan. 9 million souls, one destination. Tomorrow. City of light, city of vision, city of future. Yes, the wise man takes Tokyo seriously. But beware, don't be overwhelmed. As you arrive at your rest, weary traveller, keep hold of those things that are most precious. If it slips from your hand, it may slip from your mind, and all will be lost. Shame, really, I wasn't travelling in a taxi like this. It's running a prototype system which alerts the passenger if they've left anything behind. And the concept is really, really simple. There are cameras in each of the two footwells. There's one on the roof there, and there's one in the trunk. And as soon as you leave the cab, these cameras take photos, which they then compare against what an empty taxi should look like. If the system notices a difference, it lets you know. Too late, though, for this poor cat. The next passenger will claim my souvenir. But, lucky for me, this time, it can be replaced. It's hard to imagine standing here in the middle of Tokyo's youth district, but Japan has the oldest population in the world. Around a third of its 127 million people are over the age of 60. And that means this country is the first to face the problem of looking after an ageing population and keeping elderly people mobile and independent into quite possibly their second century on the planet. Well, it may be a Japanese problem, but it has some suitably Japanese solutions. Here's Dan Simmons.
Harvest season in Watari, 4 hours drive from Tokyo. Seishi Takano's apples are ripe for the picking, a job which he'll help do himself. In his new suit. The metalware isn't some Japanese fashion statement. It's been designed by Tokyo's University of Agriculture and Technology to give this 68-year-old his own power-up.
The robot helps support my knees by taking away any burden.
This model sports springs, braces and grips to strengthen Mr. Takano's movements and support his posture. For work that demands heavy lifting, motors and sensors are installed to physically drive his limbs and joints. But at an estimated $5,000, if this prototype suit ever makes it into production, it's unlikely to suit every pensioner's pocket. Yes, it's expensive, its designer tells me, but we can tailor suits with extras like a taste sensor to assess the ripeness of harvested fruits. That's useful if the picker's sense of taste has faded, or a camera to record each season's produce and to help sell it to buyers. After 3 hours in the orchard, Mr. Takano relaxes, enjoying some green tea with his wife. Like 6 million other pensioners in Japan, he insists he doesn't want to stop working anytime soon.
Never, not at all.
Time is ticking for Japan. It already has the world's oldest population, and it's one that's also growing faster than anywhere else. So researchers need to work out how all sorts of technology could help. Walking through the streets of Sugamo, a district of Tokyo popular with the elderly, I can see many making the most of their day. But I can't help thinking how many more are unseen, stuck inside, unable to get out and about. And that's exactly what researchers here at the Tokyo Institute of Technology have been working on. In this Aladdin's Cave, professors and their students test out various ways to improve the lives of older people. So how about a trolley that follows you? Rather than pushing or pulling your shopping trolley, simply charge up the battery and attach a cable. An onboard computer adjusts the speed of the wheels according to the length of the cable, so the trolley keeps the same pace as you do. And the clever wheel configuration means it can even cope with curbs. Well, most of the time.
My grandmother suffered from severe lung disease, and I lived with her, and I took care of her. So I understood that heavy oxygen tank is very uncomfortable for her. So I decided to develop this kind of law.
Here's another idea, this time to give an upright option for paraplegics. Here, the central section between the crutches supports the user's body for the split second they need to swing the supports forward and take another step. A small motor powers the midsection and actually propels the user upwards, so as far as their feet are concerned, they're momentarily weightless. It's a design that's being refined at the moment. Plugging it into the mains is something I'm sure they're working on. I've come to one of 400 care homes in Japan that has a special robot designed not to physically move older people, but to emotionally move them. This is a ParaSeal. It's equipped with 13 sensors, 2 visual, 10 touch and 1 for temperature. It listens with 3 microphones and knows which way up it is. Its onboard computer then determines how it should respond. Nurses at the care home say the seals spark conversation where there was none before, getting residents thinking and caring. Many here say Paro has become so much more than a robot.
Paro is my friend. I like that he seems to understand human feelings.
These seals were introduced to care homes across Japan a few years ago, and they're still the most popular robots used by the older generation. Perhaps it's because they're not metallic and hard, but rather cute and cuddly, that they're much easier for us humans to connect with. Using their expertise in robotics, the Japanese hope to improve life for their later years. If they achieve that, then everyone in Japan will sleep more easily.
Dan Simmons, and there's plenty more to come from Click in Japan after a look at this week's tech news.
Google's Motorola unit has launched a low-cost smartphone offering features more commonly found in higher-priced models. The Moto G will be sold contract-free for £135 in the UK and $179 in the US. The handset has a 4.5-inch high-definition screen, a 5-megapixel camera and runs the latest version of Android. Analysts predict the budget end of the smartphone market is set to enjoy huge growth. Facebook has moved to protect users it suspects have been compromised by the recent theft of millions of Adobe logins. Any members of the social network who've used the same email and password combinations for Facebook and Adobe accounts are at risk. Any affected users must answer additional security questions in order to access their Facebook accounts. Twitter has announced a new way for users to curate and share their own themed tweet streams. With the new feature, users can create, name and specifically choose tweets they wish to add to their custom timeline. This new approach should allow for more order amid the chaos that can sometimes arise on the microblogging site, particularly for those like news organisations wanting to curate tweets relating to live events. And from teen idol to wannabe tech idol, Justin Bieber, the pop star who first made it big via YouTube, is bankrolling a selfie-centric photo-sharing network. The Canadian pop performer is such a believer in the Shots of Me app, he's thrown $1 million into the investment pot. In an attempt to capitalise on his enormous fan base, the singer hopes to establish a new platform to promote the self-portrait trend. You don't have to go far to witness Japan's love of tech, and a lot of it is so peculiarly Japanese that it never leaves the country. However, this week sees the launch of what could become Japan's greatest export, Sony's PlayStation 4. And ironically, the next generation games console has arrived in America first, a fortnight before Europe, and several weeks before its scheduled Japanese release date. Mark Cieslak has taken one of the new boxes out for a test drive.
The PlayStation 4 almost disappears beneath the TV in the living room. A discreet black box, its anonymous exterior disguising the gaming and multimedia powerhouse lurking beneath its rectangular obsidian exterior. Under the console's skin there's 8GB of system memory and 500GB of storage and a Blu-ray player. The PS4's guts are basically the same as a PC, so it should be really easy to write games for. Certainly much easier to write games for this than it was for the machine that it replaces, the PS3, which made use of the decidedly developer-unfriendly cell processing chip. While physically the console itself is pretty unfussy, the controller has had a bit of a Vegas makeover. You'll notice this large glowing light on the front of it. When it's used in conjunction with the PlayStation camera, it allows the console to know where the controller itself is in three-dimensional space, how it's being held, what its position is. This then means that it can be used as a motion-sensitive device. Another string that's been added to the controller's bow is this little rectangle here, which is actually a touchpad with a click button in it like that, which can be used in some games or multimedia features. There's also a speaker and this, the share button. This allows players to record crucial moments of gameplay and share them online. You know, for showing off when you do something really, really cool at a game. Sony's always been keen on augmented reality. What we're seeing here is called Playroom. It uses the PlayStation camera and the motion-sensitive controller, as well as the touchpad on the controller. If I swipe the controller like this, little AR robots are birthed into the room. And you can interact and play with your little robots, knocking them over or getting them to wave to us. Not so much a game, more a showcase for how augmented reality could be used in the future on this console. The camera can also be used to log a user into the console via face recognition. A feature that's been added to this console, which will be familiar to owners of the Xbox Kinect, is speech recognition. PlayStation. Home screen. Start. Unfortunately, in comparison to its rival, it has a fairly limited vocabulary at the moment. To get an idea of what games will actually look like on this console, take a look at this. This is Killzone Shadowfall, a science fiction first-person shooter. It pulls every single trick out of the bag to show off the visual virtuosity of this machine. The draw distances are absolutely enormous. And just look at that mist rising over the valley. No skimping on lighting effects either. Visually, this is very, very pretty indeed. There's a nod to the new controller as well during gameplay. It's necessary to use the touchpad to direct a drone, performing some in-game tasks. These features don't really add a massive amount to the experience and feel ever so slightly tacked on, but they point to the potential of the touchpad in games in the future. The PS4 can of course download and stream high-definition movies and TV shows and browse the web. It makes for a pretty decent entertainment hub, and PS4 content can be viewed and played over Wi-Fi on the handheld PlayStation Vita, although you will need a very stable Wi-Fi connection. It does broadly what the previous machine did, but faster and slicker, and it does look like it's been built with the future in mind. Its controller accommodates touch. There's the prospect of cloud computing acting as a kind of super processor, introducing smarter AI into games. And all of that is before developers have had a chance to really get to grips with creating a truly next-generation experience for this next-generation console.
Mark Cieslak. There are other ways to see Tokyo than from the back of a taxi. Taking a bike ride through the throng is great fun, but in such a crammed-in city where everyone lives and works on top of each other, bike racks are really rather few and far between. Well, above the ground, anyway. Yes, it's a big, subterranean, robotic cycle park, which can store hundreds of bikes and return each one to its rightful owner in seconds. You'll need a special ID tag on your front fork and a matching owner's ID card, which you'll need again when you want your wheels back later in the day. But I bet you're wondering what it's actually like inside. Well, since you insist. 11 metres down, this echoey metal silo plays host to what is actually quite a graceful robot dance. It's actually quite unnerving being down in amongst it all.
It's also really cool that you have absolutely no idea this is down here. I mean, up top there is no sign that there are 200 bikes right beneath your feet.
Well, time for me to get back on my bike. In the meantime, let's get some travel tips from Kate Russell in Webscape.
If, like Spencer and the rest of the team, you're heading somewhere exotic, there are plenty of great guides you can put in your pocket, like Triposo. With apps for iOS and Android, there are free guides for many countries and cities around the globe. So, check if the place you're going is covered.
Somewhere outside Tokyo invented time.
One of the dangers when travelling abroad is that you might end up hammering your data consumption, giving you a nasty surprise when your phone bill comes in. Triposo's apps have an offline maps mode with local points of interest, so you can find your way around without having to connect. Locations listed include restaurants, cafes, hotels and tourist attractions, as well as essential services like hospitals and transport hubs. There's even a limited phrasebook and background information about the culture and customs to assure you have the best possible trip. Another interesting tool for travellers who want to experience the local vibe rather than stick to the tourist strip is eatwith.com. Choose your destination, then specify details like cuisine, budget and the size of your party, and the attractive interface will serve up your options.
You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant.
This service is like the Airbnb for eating experiences, using the peer-to-peer consumption model to allow enterprising foodies to share their passion with other people and earn a little extra cash into the bargain. Each guest pays the price set by the host, and Eat With collects 15% off the top. You can also sign up to be a host, whether that's to cook in your own place or offer your services as a guide for a tour of the local food markets. The site has a third-party $1 million insurance plan in place so that host and guest know they're protected if anything goes wrong. According to a recent survey, more than half of all professionals would like to change their job, but finding the right role is vital before you make any life-changing decisions. Job and Talent is the new kid on the recruitment tools block that aims to bridge this gap with a clever piece of software that plays matchmaker between job and seeker.
It's just another manic Monday. Wish it was Sunday.
There's no shortage of jobs boards online right now, but where this site is different is it uses linguistic analysis to let you know if there are any jobs you might have missed. It also keeps an eye on any new jobs as they're posted, looking in detail at the text and attempting to match it to any CVs in the database. This means you don't have to sit about waiting for a vacancy, as the site will message you if anything suitable is posted. And by analysing your language, it widens the search too. For example, linking the words retail and shop assistant to make sure you don't miss any opportunities. Increase your chances of grabbing the job by linking your social networks to see if anyone you know can give you a reference from within. The service is still new, so only available in a few countries, but growing steadily.
Kate Russell's Webscape. And we thought we'd finish this programme at the top of the Mori Tower here at Roppongi Hills, where at the moment you can just about see the top of Mount Fuji disappearing into the sunset over there. Of course, you also get a spectacular view of Tokyo itself from here. Not that it's the best view of the city I've seen today.
So this is where we are right now, the Mori Tower as seen from above, and this is the rest of Tokyo. And no, before you ask, we didn't hire a chopper. This intricate model of the city was built by hand for urban planning purposes. But I bet the makers never thought they'd see it like this. The artists behind the Tokyo City Symphony project wanted to light the place up like never before. The results speak for themselves. The technique is called 3D projection, where images are projected onto objects at particular angles. And although it looks big and expensive, the creation of this show was relatively low-tech. The team took photos of the model and then traced around the buildings manually to create the 3D data. This would then be used to tell the projectors how to distort the patterns so that they hit each building correctly. Now, a display like this would normally need quite a few projectors to make sure the light hits the building from all angles. But by shooting the sequence from carefully chosen angles, this video was made using just 2 projectors. The show was filmed in April, but even now, users from around the world can compose their own symphony on the project's website. Play your keyboard like an instrument, and the site will cut together pre-recorded video into your own masterpiece. Either that, or you can just sit back and enjoy.
Pretty impressive, I'm sure you'll agree. And that really is it from Click in Japan. Hope you've enjoyed the programme, and if you'd like to watch parts of it again, go to our website bbc.co.uk/click. That is also where you'll find links to some behind-the-scenes shots that we've been taking too. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, please email click@bbc.co.uk or get hold of us on Twitter, Facebook and Google+. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.